And one last story for the evening. We have a brave European president by the name of Milos Zeman. Now, Milos is the president of Czechoslovakia, or the Czech Republic, if you like. And basically, what he's saying is that the young, healthy males that are immigrating to Europe should actually stay behind, take up arms, and fight ISIS in their countries. Now, coming from an objective point of view, it's logical to see why he would say that. If there's 1 billion Muslims in the world, and a small percentage of are ISIS, there should be a large number of males that outnumber the males in ISIS. It's pretty interesting when you put it like that from one of the EU leaders that's on the front line of this, would you say, immigration or mass movement of people across the world. Quote, a large majority of the illegal immigrants are young men in good health and single. I wonder why these men are not taking up arms to fight for the freedom of their countries against the Islamic State, said Zeman, who was elected Czech president in early 2013. Very interesting point of view he gives. I would actually like an answer to that question. Why are these young men fleeing and not fighting? Are the odds completely stacked against them? Or are they just truly economic migrants who are in search of a better life? Which I cannot fault anybody for wanting a better life. But my problem is, you want a better life at my expense, or the citizens of that country's expense. I have no problem taking care of the people that we have here in this country already. There's a lot of people in America who need help. I'm assuming the Czech president could argue and say the same thing. We have a lot of our own citizens who aren't doing the greatest. So I can totally understand his viewpoint. As controversial as it may be, he's still making a very valid point. Most people would immediately dismiss it because they're letting their emotional mind take over and they're not using their logical, rational thinking. Which is actually kind of sad. Because it's not only a migration, it's a migration of culture. It's a clash of culture, clash of worlds. And I have no problem with people being culturally happy with their culture and wanting to be proud and carry on the traditions. But what is kind of interesting is how are these cultures going to mesh when they have to interact with each other on a daily basis? How do the Czech citizens' culture completely conflict with the immigrants' culture? And personally, I don't think it's fair to force a country to completely get rid of their culture in order to bring people in and make them feel happy and feel like they belong. I don't understand why it is our job. It is not my responsibility to make you feel like you belong in this country when you get here. The gift that you got is being allowed to come to this country. Don't expect me to do any more than to treat you as an American citizen. Or, in the Czech's point of view, don't expect me to treat you as nothing less than a Czech citizen. Nothing less, nothing more. I believe it's highly inflammatory when certain groups come into countries and demand that people censor themselves for them. And they demand that this certain kind of speech is not allowed here. I mean, that to me is completely asinine, and it's not democratic. I'm not quite sure how these minorities continue to make the loudest noise. The groups who have the least percentage of active participants somehow are making a lot of the noise. It's admirable. At least they're fighting for a good cause. At least they're fighting for what they believe in. But at the same time, what you believe in is censoring me from speaking? But back to what the Czech president is doing. I think it's quite funny that although 70% of Czechs oppose the arrival of migrants and refugees, the EU, if I'm not mistaken, is still trying to force quotas after Miss Merkel basically opened the floodgates of Germany. I mean, this year alone, more than 1 million migrant refugees reached Europe. I would say that is a lot of people we have helped. The world has helped a lot of people. But the problem is, it's not enough. People think they need to keep shoving this shit in your face. And they think you need to hear about it every day. And you need to see it every day. You know, 1 million migrants have been taken care of by Europe. I mean, that is truly people coming together to try to do the best that they can to help people in a bad situation. And sometimes it almost seems like they're using that to their advantage, and they're playing off people's kind hearts and kindness. I know there's plenty of migrants who are thrilled to be in Europe and who are going to take every opportunity to be successful. But at the same time, I don't see how you can really validate to me that when almost 75% of a country opposes immigration or migrants, how can you impose it on that country? How can you impose a quota on the Czech Republic when 70% of their population is against it? And then you have the audacity to say that they'll integrate peacefully. Regardless of how bigoted you feel the Czech public is, you can't convince anybody that it's going to be a peaceful integration. I don't understand why these governments and these presidents, especially Barack Obama, they literally laugh in your face and tell you what you want to hear, and then turn around and force you to do something that you don't feel is right at this particular moment by threatening you as being a bigot. You have phobias. You are scared, and you are oppressing certain groups. Now that right there is absolutely, positively unbelievable. You're going to guilt trip the citizens of countries into taking in immigrants, who in all actuality really should be fighting in their own countries. Because I don't know how the rest of these Americans feel, but regardless of race, color, creed, if there was an oppressive force in this country that was trying to do what ISIS is doing in the Middle East, there would be a revolution in this country, and I would fight alongside every person of every race. We would fight to the death. So I guess my point is, how can I hold somebody else to the standards that I would hold myself to when they aren't even holding themselves to that standard? Thank you. This has been Mixed News Network.